Okay, Lori, I want to thank you for being with me tonight to educate everyone on changing careers. But you have a very interesting story yourself, so before we really get into it, tell us about Lori Banks.
Well, great. First of all, I wanted to thank you for being here. I'm truly grateful. And my background, I went to Virginia Tech and studied computer science and business, and followed that path in the corporate environment, corporate world for 20 years. So I was a project leader, programmer, project manager, consultant, got into the sales side, account management. So I've had a various career background.
I know one very interesting career, well, a project that you worked on that really grabbed my attention. You helped with the California lottery.
That's right.
Designing the actual
Yes.
program for the California lottery.
Yes.
I mean, you don't talk to people that every day that says, yes, I helped design the lottery for the state. So, okay, that was very interesting.
It was actually a training project, so we learned how to design computer software systems. So we would do the training on how to do ERD diagramming, for example, and then we'd actually create the part of the system.
Wow.
So it was called a fast track, but I had to sign some waivers saying that I would not be able to play the lottery.
Well, I would have quit then. I was like, I don't know about that. But what made you actually become a career coach, career and life coach?
Well, thank you for asking. It really has been a journey, and I worked for Oracle Corporation and a lot of the hot .coms that were out there. And one of the criteria is that they provide this incredible training. So sales presentation, negotiations, quality management. So you're always in this training mode, which I absolutely loved. And I loved being on the cutting edge of technology. And that thrust me into the world of self-development and just reading. And we share that common connection of just reading these great books. And I became a self-development junkie, where I would go to seminars and workshops and just hear people. I would just want to be in people's presence, like the Dalai Lama and Marianne Williamson and Deepak Chopra and Doreen Virtue and Oprah, and these just wonderful spiritual leaders on the planet. And I just love that learning and seeking. And it was through a spiritual experience that I had myself that I realized that I had a calling. And I think that's an important point for people who are looking to do a career change. Are you just wanting to change jobs, or are you being called to do something? Are you being called for your passion?
Right, because calling, and we had discussed that also, calling, vocation and calling is really the same word. You know, calling is, vocation is the Latin term for calling, which is the call out. So there's many different ways you can express your calling. And you were mentioning some of the names. You had also worked for one of the a best-selling author. He was actually a coach for, was it T. Harv Eker?
Yes, he wrote The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and he was the...
In my library, one of the books in my library, yeah.
I love it. He was the force behind Peak Potentials. And so we had 4,000 clients, and I had 100 personal clients that I would coach myself.
Oh, wow.
And it was on all areas of your life. It focused on career, but you can't work with one area without touching on the other areas. And so that's one of the things that I wanted people to notice, is that when you up-level one area, it affects your relationships, it affects your money situation,
exactly.
It affects your health. I mean, you have to be prepared in all areas.
Right. On our program, that is, career satisfaction. It's sort of hard to be financially successful if you're dissatisfied with your career. There are some careers that would just make a lot of money, and if you're just out to make a lot of money, then sure. But true financial satisfaction, building wealth, even when it comes to investments, I've always said that career is in the top three, insurance, home ownership, and investing in your career. And I'll honestly say invest in career first, before any other investments. And so that's why you're here, and I appreciate that you brought out that point that financial success, financial satisfaction, life, especially life. Most people, they say, if I could just find that perfect career, I would be happy. And basically what you were saying, you helped me understand, was that they're searching for a passion, correct?
Yes. I think it's an ideal scenario when you have a career that does bring you joy. Mm-hmm. So it is your career, it is your calling, and it is the way that you make your money. It is your expression out into the world. It is your authenticity.
Good word, expression, yes.
Yes. And that would be the ideal scenario. And if that is not, then one of the things that I would work on with people is to find ways to meet all of those needs. So there could be, you have a job, mm-hmm. but then you find your joy and your message and your purpose in something else. Maybe it's doing volunteer work or working in a ministry or working in other capacities, playing music. One of the trends that I see that's happening right now is all of these great companies that are opening up, like Uber.
Oh yes,
the taxi
mm-hmm,
service.
The taxi service.
Where people can work as many hours as they want to work and set their own schedule so that they can be a stay-at-home mom, or they can mm-hmm. build their business, or they can do their art or play their music. And so that is just I think a really important point to bring out to people, is that, okay, you make your money this way, but then you get to do what you love.
Right, okay. So if one is thinking of doing a career change, what would you have them to do in the beginning? Yes,
well, there's many different methodologies of exploration on mm-hmm. that. I'm an intuitive coach. I'm a spiritual coach. I let the questions come through me from God's source. Okay. And so that we don't have to get into a lot of the paperwork that sometimes that other coaches have, which it's all good information. Mm-hmm. There are assessments that are out there where people can find out information about their skill sets and their personality types.
Like DISC.
Yes, and 360 feedback. Mm-hmm. And there's a new one called Tiltology that's really interesting, and the 5-factor model. So if you do work with a coach, there are those pieces of information. And I like to invite people to have that type of information, but take from it what you want.
Right.
And still listen to that inner voice inside of your heart, and take those steps as well.
Yes, I have a lot of mentors, and every last one of them have said, sure, they've had mentors, they've been mentored, and they have advisors, and we all have advisors. They said, but at the end of the day, you really need to learn how to listen to yourself, because each one of us was sent here with that wisdom that's implanted there. You just have to get quiet to really hear it, and it will, really guide you into seasons. Sometimes you may do something for just a season, and it's a particular thing that you need to learn for the next step in life, for the next junction that you're on your way to. You need to learn this, and where some people can become hindered, and you and I, we've talked about this so much. Career dissatisfaction has come from not really learning from where they are. They've shut down their learning, and that's the most important part, because if you're not really learning, sure, you won't be happy if you're not learning, and we're born learners.
We share that connection and that love of learning. And I just want to invite people to consider the concept that you are at the perfect place at the perfect time. And it's been my experience that it's all research. So even those missteps or these places that you were temporarily, you think, well, this isn't where I need to be, or whatever. Mm-hmm. There is information and learnings from that, because maybe you'll do your business different, or you'll treat people different, or or you take away positives from the experience. In my career transition, and right now I'm rebirthing my coaching practice to be something that reaches globally and that will have products. And it's been great for me to have the one-on-one coaching experience with Peak Potential, so I know what that feels like. It's been great for me to lead people in group sessions, so I know what that feels like. And you know, I had a period of time where I was working in a clothing store as a fashion stylist, and it doesn't seem to fit in the picture, but now that I am creating what I'm creating, it is a big part, because I want to work with women over 35 who are really into beauty and love and fashion and style and spirit, their soul.
Right, and I just want to say, even though I'm not a female over 35, I'm still learning from you.
Thank you. Well, you're very stylish.
Okay, I appreciate that. Just wanted to make sure. No, I'm not a 35 plus female. But what you were saying there really rings true. Much deeper than what people understand, because even with your style, that's part of branding. You and I, we've talked so much about branding.
I get chills.
That we're constantly broadcasting. And, you know, as you and I, we were having conversations off camera, it has been plenty of times here in Charlotte, you know, this is a banking center, you know, financial center. And there have been numerous times I've been talking with people. I've never worked a day in my life in banking, but some people would ask my opinion. And I would tell them, I was like, okay, you're saying what bank are you wanting to work for? Well, I just want to work for, you know, whichever one will hire me. I said, well, it really isn't that simple, because, and we would, you know, be living downtown, I have access to seeing all of the different employees of the banks. And I said, you see that group that's walking there? Yes. They work for Wells Fargo. You see that group? Yes. They work at Bank of America. You see the differences, dress, you know, almost mannerisms, everything in their brands, because these companies, they broadcast a certain brand. I said, you have to understand that. And I had one girl, she was saying, well, I went and did this interview, and she said, the bank, I said, I can tell you the reason why you probably won't be hired. It doesn't have anything to do with what you think it is. You don't look like their culture is what it is. I said, so maybe it may be a good time for you to talk with an image consultant that could help you get all of that in gear. A career coach, you know, an image consultant and a career coach that could really help you get all of that in line. Because, you know, me being male, I didn't want to, that's as far as I would really go with it.
But you're right on. I think that is a huge trend for the future, is personal branding, and it's coming whether we want it or not.
It really
because
is.
Of the
yes.
social media. We are influencers in our lives, and there used to be a disconnect between the career self and the personal self.
Yes.
The career.
It stopped at 5 o'clock
9
and
to
it was
5,
done. Yes.
and then you had your family life, and it didn't really mix too much unless, you know, certain situations. And you had that controlled, and often we had different personalities from the daytime to the nighttime. And now with the social media and the platforms that we have, the way that the world works, you have to be authentic.
Yes.
You have to be integrated. It has to be a oneness, a truth that resonates through you. So it's even more important than ever to get a job that fits who you are, because you will not be happy dressing in a culture that it isn't you. If you're more of a Google employee type that wants to play ping pong and dress in khakis, and you're not going to be happy in a Wells Fargo corporate environment.
Yeah, in the suit and everything, correct, right?
And the chasm between the happiness is just going to grow further and further. So I really want to emphasize the personal branding for people going forward. You know, and pay attention to the things that you love and your opinions and your voice on certain areas in life. It doesn't mean that you have to take a negative side or necessarily, or be
sell your soul or anything. Yeah, you don't have to sell your soul, right?
But even if you're commenting on on a NASCAR race or a sports program, that reflects on who you are. Every like that you have, everything that's on your Facebook profile of likes, that affects people, whether it's products or brands or sports teams or anything, you know.
Right. It is so funny that you brought that up, just to really emphasize how important that is. You're wanting to get a job, for instance, at one of the more conservative-leaning banks. And so they check your Facebook page, and you're totally opposite of their culture. You sort of shot yourself in the foot in that particular area, because they do check social media now, because that's usually where a person sort of really expresses who they are.
Yes.
And once it's out there, it is out there. Once you tweet, I mean, we're seeing stars basically sabotage their careers now behind social media. It was just a harmless comment. There is no such thing as a harmless comment now. Everything is taken at face value and taken to heart. So we have to be careful as far as our career. We can build a great career with social media, as you were saying, or we can sabotage our career with social media.
I think the key point is to be conscious about it, to be conscious, to be intentional, and to be aligned with whatever that you're expressing. If you have a good brand, it builds the brand. If you're not managing the brand, then it can really hurt you.
Okay, so on this branding, what makes up a personal brand?
I think it is your uniqueness that gives to your brand, and a lot of times, unfortunately, it is the places where we've struggled and the lessons that we've learned and the things that we have overcome that brings us a unique story and an inspirational gift to others. And so, I just invite people to consider that. Some people, they use their tragedies or their challenges as reasons to keep them small or keep them from not moving forward. And I just want people to look at it from a different perspective. It's like, this is what made you strong. This is what you've overcome.
These are the opportunities,
yeah,
right?
This is an opportunity for you to be unique in your expression.
Right. Some of the most popular speakers and business people in the world, those big businesses and companies came out of pain.
Yes.
Going through an issue, especially in today's economy. Today's economy is such service oriented that a good, being able to, frame your story the correct way attracts a good market. It will. There's another career coach that we were all working together a few years back, and he said, okay, I'm going to tell you one story. He said, I'm going to tell you the same story two different ways. And he told it. And we were like, wow, we didn't think about it. He said, that's my story. I just told you my story. He said, one way it was negative. He said, the other way it was the same stuff. I just reframed it. He said, and I built my company off of the reframe. He said, at first I was like, I had such a stern father and all of this. He was like, well, wait a minute. Because of the discipline instilled into me by my father,
yeah.
It was the same thing. He said, I could have looked at it as being hard and stern and all that. But no, he was instilling discipline in me because he was military, and he told us, and we were like, oh. And then we were like, okay, that's why we're so attracted to your coaching style, is because of that. We were all sort of similar, and we were like, that's what we need. And his coaching practice is backed up for months because of that.
That's excellent. Yeah, I think it's the opportunity to, when we share the story, it is our opportunity to connect with someone else and have them experience, well, wow, she went through something very similar, or she could have empathy for my situation because she struggled with it herself. And so from from a coaching standpoint, I look at all of my life experiences as being gifts.
I want to take the next step here. We had talked about branding, and once we've explored our branding and then embraced who we are as a brand, what would be the next step for someone?
Well, one of the important questions that I would ask a client that's sitting in front of me is, what kind of lifestyle do you want?
Okay.
And that has just become so complex in today's world. It's not just, I have this job and I work 9 to 5. There are so many different options. It used to be that we would have local or regional jobs, and
Yes.
now it's national and international jobs 24/7.
You're exactly
Especially if you're deciding to do some sort of social media, there is just nonstop time that you would be spending doing whatever this is. So really, lifestyle is an important question. Is it, and what's important to you in your lifestyle?
That's a big question for the show. What's important to you?
Is it security? Is it excitement? Is it travel? Is it reaching a number of people?
Right.
And also, just do you want to work for yourself and be an entrepreneur? And deliver this message and use this branding towards that, and have your own company, or do you want to buy a franchise and be, use that as your avenue to make money, or do you want to go the traditional route? Because all of those are important questions to explore, and I think people can get lost in the job search because it is so many different.
Right, and it's sort of never ending.
Yeah.
I mean, jobs are being posted constantly, and then some people are just frozen into the job search themselves, itself rather. And I've had that conversation with some. How's the job search going? Well, I'm searching. Okay, when are you going to find and make a decision? And you can see the look on their face. Oh, you are actually caught up in the search itself. It's time to make a decision. You've probably overlooked some great jobs because you're just hung up on the search. So we have to make a decision on our branding. Does it fit our lifestyle?
Yes.
Because what you were saying, it doesn't even matter what time of the day you want to work now. I know a company in Charlotte that pretty much has most of the assistants off-site in another country. So this company is operating 24 hours a day in particular departments because they have virtual assistants halfway around the world. And so everyone's happy about that. And then the one person that's here in America, they're happy that they get to work at night because they're sort of supervising the other group halfway around the world. And I was like, isn't that interesting, right? We never thought we would see the day that we will be able to build our own job. It's out there. You may just have to create it. There are a lot of companies that are open to innovative minds, creative minds that will come in and say, hey, I think, what if we tried this? And they're open.
Yeah,
They really
that is
are.
such a good point. And one of the benefits that you get with working with a career coach is that intentionality and that focus of the clarity of what it is that you want and what direction that you want to go in, and then you can make your plan and take those steps, and a coach keeps you accountable for those
In
steps.
the practical steps, yes.
And then you can make alteration. And there's times where you try something and you okay, this was the information.
Feedback.
And then you can make other changes.
Right.
So that's, it's just wonderful to have that partner to go through that with, because it can be so overwhelming.
Yes, it can. And I'm a huge proponent of coaches. As a matter of fact, that's how I was looking for a good career coach. I said, I need to do programs on career. So I went to ICF Charlotte, and that's how I found, you. And I looked and I used my intuition. I said, okay, let's see. And then I chose it, made the phone call to you, and we, had a good conversation over phone. I said, you'd be perfect to come on the show. And it was all thanks to ICF, and you are a member of ICF.
Yes. So I have a master's degree, I have my coaching certification from Coach for Life, and I have my ICF certification, which is a professional certified coach, which is the medium level. There's ACC, PCC, and MCC. And I would just like to invite everybody to go to icfcharlotte.org. I'm on the communications committee, and we're getting our name out there more and more as a resource for Charlotte. And most of the coaches there have a career element, and they're able to do a consultation for complimentary consultation. And like I said, it's all good information, and then you can see who you resonate with. And and I also invite people to come to one of our meetings. It's a free meeting. It's usually the last Thursday of a month, and we have a speaker that's presenting a new methodology or strategy for coaching, and so it's great networking opportunity with some great information.
Yes, it really is. You know, coaching is so accepted now. It used to be pretty much focused in sports, and now there's a coach pretty much for everything, you know. I mean, for everything. It is so funny. But that's a good thing to know that there's people out there that will help to inform, educate, and guide. And that's what, you know, this program has always been about: information, education, and guidance. And so you've been a great resource. I want to thank you. Hopefully you will come back and share some more, because as you and I, we were talking, we were like, we could do an entire year of just careers, and you know, getting a person may want to change careers, or they may just want to tweak the career they're in. And we'll do a program on that one. How about that?
I would love to.
All right, good enough. So Lori Banks, and what was the name of your company again? We never did get to the name.
My company is In Bliss Inc.
In Bliss Inc. So once they deal with you, they will be in bliss, right?
You can get my information off the icfcharlotte.org site, or go to my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Lori Banks Life Coach.